Uncut Gems rides an extremely thin line between realism and annoying the audience. I think in the end I like this film, but I almost gave up on it. Adam Sandler's performance is a really good one, but the character of Howard Ratner is so miserably anxious and annoying that it becomes exhausting sticking with him. I walked into the screening with little knowledge of the movie, but did notice the 2-hour and 15-minute runtime, which became a red flag in my mind, and I felt it. I felt that extra half hour or so where the movie dragged in its neurotic chaos. It's so good at what it does that you just don't want anything to do with it anymore. This crime thriller, about a jeweler in New York racing to pay off debts by making more debts with money he doesn't have, lends itself to a tightly knit 100 minutes or so. You go longer and you'll have to become an epic like Goodfellas. It's just not material you should drag out. It's effectively shot with longer telephoto lenses, and its blurred out graininess gives it an ugly and real look. Even though it all takes place in 2012, you'd think this movie was straight out of the 80s. Nothing seems to go right for Howard Ratner. He's addicted to gambling and can't stop lying to the people he deals with. I mean, the movie shows how, he's obsessed with it, sexually. He gets off on gambling. He's just like, oh, I'm gonna come when he sees The Rock for the first time that he thinks is worth $1 million, and then in the car when a deal goes right and he's listening to it, and you can see him orgasming in the back seat. He has 3 kids from a marriage that is already over. His mistress, Julia, works for him in the jewelry store. His employees are fed up with him, as are all the people he makes deals with. As is everyone around him. Maybe it's because he keeps making inexplicable decisions. Like one that has him lending a black opal stone he tracked down in Ethiopia to basketball star Kevin Garnett, playing himself, minutes after it's arrived. The stone is appraised at around $1 million, and Howard notices if you look hard into the rocks you can see the whole universe there. It was dug up in the mines and is really, really old. Howard feels a direct connection with the Ethiopian Jews who discovered it, and his passion for the stone becomes so infectious that Garnett becomes obsessed with it. I need this stone. He too seems to share a kindred spirit with it and sees it as good luck. He wants to borrow it for the night to help him win in his game. Howard eventually agrees and takes his championship ring as collateral. Now see, a decision as stupid as that would never work on paper. But the way the Safdie brothers play it out makes it work. I believed it all. You can guess that stone ain't gonna be back to him the next day. The movie follows this and similar misguided and poor decisions that leads Howard along in the next couple days. It's about as real as it gets, and I was in there with him, even if I was frustrated as hell. But that was for a majority of the runtime. But close in the last third of the movie is where I really couldn't stand watching anymore. It's a scene that goes on way longer than it should, and is boring if not useless. I will say again that I think the movie got what it was going for, and just the story itself is not one so easy to sit through. There are close calls and neat reveals, like who a certain debt collector ends up being, that the filmmakers find interesting ways of showing. But a little goes a long way, and after the 9th or so scene of Howard hassling himself out of a scenario only to doom himself to another, you just want to scream. I will say that the actress who plays Julia Fox, who I think is a newcomer, is incredible in her role. I don't know who she is or where she came from, but she gives the best performance in the whole picture. Her ditzy bipolar relationship with Howard is insane to witness, but it works. It's tragic and funny, and also annoying yet sweet. But I think it's the best part of it all. The music is also weird. I couldn't tell you what genre or what I was listening to, except for a lot of synth. It made the movie cool and bizarre, but strangely off-putting. I think this may be a movie people walk out of, if only because the audio experience is just so out there. I felt the presence and influence of Paul Thomas Anderson's work, and a couple of the trippy effect shots with the music was reminiscent of 2001. But this movie was never going to hold a candle to Punch Drunk Love, although Sandler proves again he is able to do well with the right material. Just Punch Drunk Love is an amazing movie, and his performance is amazing. That movie, you just gotta watch. I'll talk about that movie another time. Amazing film. The ending left me with a sickeningly awful feeling in my gut. I didn't see it coming at all. But when I really think about it, I wonder if there was any other outcome. And maybe that's what they wanted me to feel. An interesting movie-going experience. One I hope never to relive. Yeah, seriously, that anxiety was insane. The amount of neurotic chaos, just the movie. Again, I'll say it again. The movie was so good at what it did that I didn't want to keep watching. I didn't want to be a part of it anymore. So good on the Safdie brothers. I didn't know really who they were. I'd heard of the Safdie brothers, but I don't think I've seen a single movie they've done. And now I can see what kind of filmmakers they are, and I think they have a very outlandish style. But they got what they were going for. It's certainly not awful. It's just a very strange way to make a movie, and very effective in making you feel extremely uncomfortable and neurotic, but so good at placing you in that headspace, that mindset of Howard Ratner and that world he lives in. So the world building, the movie was amazing, and putting you in there, it was amazing. But again, I think it drags a little bit too much in the end, and it's just it felt so uncomfortable watching it, and then the ending. I'm not going to spoil it. It's one of the best parts of it is. It made me feel sick to my stomach. But it was so good at what it did. But I couldn't believe it. So yeah, I think I can recommend this movie. I think it's so effective at what it does. You're definitely gonna remember it. Yeah. I don't ever want to see it again. Oh yeah. Also, they were really good at recreating the time period of 2012. Like, I'm clueless with rappers and all this musicians and stuff, but they were really good at taking famous people back from 2012 and inserting them. Like, so it's weird watching. I'm a little older. Like, I remember 2012, and like most of you do too. Obviously, what am I talking about? But it was 8 years ago now, and it had all the famous people who were being listened to, like The Weeknd, who was blown up at the time, and a bunch of other rappers who I didn't know about. But when I talked to people who had seen this movie, this is why it's good. You should talk to other people about films, that they appreciated it way more, that was the stuff they were listening to at the time, and so they saw those famous people, and it was like the time period was excellently recreated 8 years ago. Yeah.